So there are many different anti-aging ingredients, supplements that are claiming to extend lifespan. But in today's video, what I want to do is share with you an actual ingredient that I do believe has some potential to extend human life based upon many different bits of clinical data that I've been analyzing over the years. So in today's video, what I'm going to do is share with you some unique science around spermidine and specifically cover the purmidine version that N&B Nutrition has actually manufactured. So first of all, let's get into spermidine. What exactly is spermidine? Well, it's a natural compound, a polyamine found in all living cells and many foods, and it was discovered in seminal fluid by Anton van Leeuwenhoek, since it has a peculiar name. So recently, spermidine has gained attention as a biohacking supplement for its potential anti-aging and health benefits. Now, researchers observed that spermidine levels tend to decline with age in animals and humans, sparking interest in boosting intake to improve cellular health. Now, endogenous production of spermidine accounts for roughly 1/3 of the body's spermidine pool. However, the ability to produce spermidine endogenously actually decreases with age. Now, whilst some microbial and dietary intakes make up 2/3 of the body's needs, dietary intakes vary greatly between countries, with spermidine intake being higher on the Mediterranean and Japanese diets than on the typical American or Western European diet. Now, where is spermidine actually found? There are 3 sources of spermidine. The first one is the endogenous spermidine made from the precursor amino acid ornithine. The second way is through microbial spermidine produced by gut microbes. And the third way is through dietary spermidine that's naturally occurring in food, which can be aged cheese, mushrooms, soy products, legumes, corn, and even whole grains. So how does spermidine actually work for longevity and confer its health benefits? In plain terms, spermidine helps our cells take out the trash and do some spring cleaning. It triggers a cellular recycling process called autophagy, where cells break down and repurpose old or damaged components. Now, you can think of autophagy as the cell's garbage disposal or repair system, clearing away the junk like misfolded proteins and defective mitochondria, the energy generators of the system. And by activating autophagy, spermidine may protect cells from age-related clutter and stress. At the molecular level, spermidine inhibits certain enzymes that normally suppress autophagy. Specifically, it blocks an enzyme that adds acetyl groups to proteins that would otherwise slow down the cleanup process. In doing so, spermidine frees the cell to maintain itself in a more youthfully efficient state. Additionally, spermidine has antioxidant properties and stabilizes DNA and cell membranes, as we can see here in this diagram. In terms of the heart benefits, specifically for the cardiovascular system, one of the standout benefits observed with spermidine is its ability to have a positive effect on the cardiovascular system. In aged mice, spermidine supplementation was essentially like a fountain of youth for their heart or the heart tissue. The 2016 Nature Medicine study found that old mice given oral spermidine had less cardiac hypertrophy. Their heart walls didn't thicken as much with age and better diastolic function than old control mice. In other words, their hearts relaxed and filled with blood more like those of young mice. So, in addition to that, spermidine's heart benefits aren't just limited to structure. They extend to vascular health as well. Studies have shown that spermidine can enhance endothelial function, the performance of the cells lining blood vessels. For instance, a human trial where participants took a probiotic aimed at increasing gut spermidine production saw improvements in flow-mediated dilation, a measure of blood vessel flexibility, and reductions in blood pressure. Now, this suggests that spermidine actually helps blood vessels to relax and reduces the risk of developing hypertension. So clearly we can see here that spermidine has some remarkable benefits for the heart and the blood vessels and the cardiovascular system overall. What about how spermidine can affect our memory? Can a compound like spermidine help keep our brains sharp? Emerging evidence says it just might, at least in animal models and epidemiological studies. Spermidine has been shown to cross the blood-brain barrier and act within the brain. In aging mice, dietary spermidine supplementation led to noticeable noticeable cognitive benefits. One study found that old mice fed spermidine performed better on memory tasks than their non-supplemented peers. The researchers traced this improvement to molecular changes. Spermidine increased levels of hypocyaneated EIF5A and boosted mitochondrial function in the hippocampus, a brain region crucial for memory. Essentially, spermidine made the brain cells act more youthfully by enhancing their energy production and protein synthesis capacities, which are vital for learning and memory. Moving on, what about the animal research looking further into the memory enhancing effect of spermidine? Well, it does appear that spermidine can help to reduce inflammation in the brain, and one mouse study showed that spermidine supplementation dampened the production of inflammatory cytokines in microglia, the brain immune cells, during stimulated viral infection. All of this paints a hopeful picture that spermidine might slow aspects of brain aging. What about its anti-aging potential? What does spermidine actually do for longevity? Well, in one hallmark study, mice fed a spermidine-enriched diet lived significantly longer than control mice, with median lifespan extending around 10% or more. These mice didn't just live longer, they maintained better health in old age, particularly in cardiovascular function. Similar lifespan extending effects were seen in simpler organisms. Yeast cells, nematode worms, and fruit flies all showed extended lifespan with spermidine. A further study found lifelong spermidine feeding reduced liver fibrosis and liver tumors in mice, supporting longevity. Importantly, a recent study showed that combining spermidine with dietary restriction enhanced protection against age-related decline. While protein restriction alone did not protect against memory decline, spermidine essentially reversed it in aging mice. What about human research? How does spermidine actually enhance longevity in humans? Well, a notable 2018 study found a large cohort of adults over 20 years found those with the highest dietary spermidine intake had a significantly lower all-cause mortality compared to those with the lowest intake. Now, this intake equated to a risk of death similar to being roughly 5.7 years younger, with fewer deaths from cardiovascular disease and cancer. Now, these results, held independent of age, sex, and diet quality, suggest that spermidine itself may contribute to human longevity. Another analysis of nearly 24,000 people confirmed higher dietary spermidine was linked to reduced cardiovascular mortality. A 2025 study found that each additional 1 milligram of dietary spermidine per day was linked to being about 0.075 years biologically younger as measured by phenoage compared to those consuming less. The study also found that over 11% of this association was mediated by IGF-1 levels, providing a potential mechanistic link between spermidine intake and slower biological aging. Together, these human findings align with animal research, positioning spermidine as a promising compound for supporting health span and longevity. What about how spermidine can actually affect our energy and metabolism? Observational studies have noted that people who consume more spermidine-rich foods tend to have lower body mass index and better metabolic profiles. To test causation, scientists turned to animal models. In mice fed a high-fat, obesity-inducing diet, spermidine supplementation caused a significant loss of weight and improved insulin sensitivity. Essentially, the spermidine-fed obese mice had less weight gain and their cells responded better to insulin, meaning lower blood sugar levels and reduced signs of metabolic syndrome. The mechanism behind these benefits appears to involve the gut. Spermidine strengthened the intestinal barrier and shifted the gut microbiome toward a healthier composition in these mice. Notably, spermidine's metabolic effects might be context dependent. In healthy, normal diet mice, extra spermidine doesn't dramatically change weight or metabolism. But under metabolic stress like a high-fat diet or genetic predisposition to obesity, spermidine provides a protective boost. It's also been linked to better mitochondrial function in cells, which could enhance overall energy expenditure. All these findings have led researchers to suggest spermidine as a possible therapy for obesity or metabolic disorders, though human trials are needed. Now, what about how spermidine can affect inflammation and also our immune functioning? Spermidine can influence macrophages, the versatile white blood cells that can either ramp up inflammation or promote healing. Studies show that spermidine polarizes macrophages toward an anti-inflammatory phenotype. In cell culture and animal models, treated macrophages macrophages released fewer pro-inflammatory cytokines and more anti-inflammatory signals. Essentially, spermidine shifted these cells into a calm and repair mode rather than an attack mode. In a mouse model of colitis, oral spermidine administration significantly ameliorated intestinal inflammation. Treated mice had less colon tissue damage, lower levels of inflammatory cytokines, and more anti-inflammatory macrophages in their gut lining. Similarly, in an autoimmune disease model, experimental multiple sclerosis in mice, spermidine supplementation reduced disease severity by inhibiting the pro-inflammatory Th17 immune response and fostering regulatory T cells. And in a striking neonatal study, newborn mice with excessive inflammation showed much higher survival when given spermidine. It curtailed the runaway inflammation and improved immune balance. Now, of course, we need to talk about safety. Now, spermidine has shown a strong safety and tolerability profile in studies to date. A dedicated phase 2 trial in older adults tested spermidine-rich wheat germ, providing 1.2 milligrams spermidine per day over 3 months, closely monitored any changes and no significant differences in adverse events, blood chemistry or vital signs between spermidine groups and the placebo group. So overall, spermidine has received a GRAS status, generally recognized as safe in the United States in 2020, and is also listed on the European Union of list of authorized novel foods, affirming its regulatory acceptance for human consumption. Now, for longevity and cellular health, spermidine dosages roughly 1.1 to 2 milligrams per day safely, while studies with higher synthetic dosages of up to 10 to 15 milligrams per day have shown no adverse effects, indicating a wide safety margin. I personally recommend NNB's spermidine called Purimidine for several reasons. It is a synthetic form, so it contains no contaminants or allergens. It's HPLC tested with purity verified at greater than 98% and shows identical receptor binding and biological activity as food-derived forms. Synthetic forms avoid variability found in food extracts and can be precisely dosed. So if you are interested in using spermidine, I highly recommend checking out NNB Nutrition, their Purimidine. This appears to be one of the most potent and also one of the more effective versions of spermidine found on the market. So definitely check that out if you are interested in actually incorporating spermidine into your wellness routine. That's it from me today, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.